Hello everyone, welcome to OmegaCodex. My name is Sanal. How are you all doing? You all have been liking the videos made on different topics about Azure DevOps pipelines. So today I thought let's have a follow-up video on one of them. I did get quite a few queries on this video, so it would be good to answer them here along with some hands-on for better understanding. The link to the video is also available in the description box below. So let's get started. In the earlier video where we created a release pipeline to deploy to IIS, we had created this release pipeline where we were using IIS deploy, manage and deploy tasks, and we were using a deployment group to deploy it to a virtual machine, simulating a scenario where we have to deploy it to a standalone server on an on-premise machine or a physical hardware. So there were quite a few questions on that. So the first one was how to deploy to a different website. So if you see the manage and deploy option, it is deploying to the default website which is available on IIS. So when you install IIS on a server, you have a default website, and in the previous video when we discussed, I was deploying it to a default website. So the question was how to deploy to a different site. So for that, as you can see here, these fields are disabled because it is defined as parameters on the dev tab. So the step is really simple. All you have to do is copy this file name. You can just press F2 and it kind of allows you to rename, and just escape, and you can come here and paste it. So with this, your website name is set to the other site which you want to deploy. And obviously if you have multiple sites, you would have a different port binding. So let's just check port binding. Here it is binded to 8080, and I'll just change it to 8080. After that, we have to come to manage, and one more thing we have to update is the location of the site. So we'll just change it to system drive and sites and second site. That's it. Now if we come to our application, if I directly hit, this is my default website loading up, and if I access the port number where my second site is, so it's showing me the default IIS page. Let's come to a pipeline, saved it, and let's create a release. It has started deployment, and let's give it a few seconds to finish it. Now it is deployed. So let's come to the portal and see if it worked. So now on 8080 also I have the same application. If I go to default website, even that shows up the same. So they are still on two different folders. The first one is in www.root in inetpub, and the second one was in the separate folder called second site which we created. So that's how you deploy it to a different site instead of default website. Now the next question was on how to deploy it to a subfolder or an application, a subsite or a subfolder. So again, we can come back to this dev, and we have the configuration type field. So here we can select web application if it is a subsite, and we'll call it second app. Save it, physical path. Let's just copy the path and call it second app. In virtual application as well, let's mention second app, and I think that should be enough. Let's save and create. So for now, I have again removed everything from our second site, and I will just have the IIS default page. So it's done. Let's come and refresh. It's still the same. Let's try our second app, and we got 503. Let's find out why. Okay, I found the problem. It was set on a different app pool, and that's why it wasn't working. So once I changed, it was set to default app pool. Once I changed it to second site app pool, because this website is running on a different app pool, so that was why it wasn't running. So now you come to 8080, you have the IIS file or IIS default page, but now you come to the second app. So that's how you can deploy to the subfolders. And I think you can mention app pool here so that it is deployed to the proper app pool. Even for a normal website, if you are deploying to a different website instead of default and you want to use a different app pool, you can mention the app pool name here. The next question was on excluding files. for that, we'll just disable it for now. We don't need this. To exclude files, we can mention it in additional arguments. Say, for example, we come to the repository. I have sample app. I have this development.json, which also gets deployed when I am deploying it here. So I want to exclude it. So for that, we have to mention in additional arguments. So what we can put is -skip : object name equal to file path, and then comma, absolute path is this one, equal to / app settings.development.json. So that is the part, since it is at the root level itself, so we don't have to add any additional path. So with this, it should skip it, and let's deploy it to the second site itself. And I have removed the contents from the site just to keep it clean. And let's create a release and run it. So it's running. Let's give it a few seconds. Now it's done. Let's check on the server, and you can see that now it doesn't have the development.json. We just have app settings.json. Now the last question was whether the IP for the server should be publicly available. Well, it doesn't need to be publicly available. For demonstrating it, obviously I had created an Azure VM because I didn't have a physical server to demonstrate it. So I had used an Azure VM to emulate a physical server. And in that case, the IP is publicly available for me to remotely connect. But in your case, it doesn't need to be publicly available as long as you can remotely connect it using in your internal network. The reason being that when you create deployment groups, as you would have seen in the previous video as well, that we have to register a server with Azure DevOps, and the connection is other way around. So obviously your server should be able to connect to Azure DevOps, because when you run it through a deployment group, it's the agent which is running on the server does the deployment. So as long as it is able to access Azure DevOps, it will check out the artifacts and deploy it to IIS without any problem. So that's pretty much the questions I had, and I thought it would be nice to show it as a video so that you guys can follow along. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'll be happy to answer them, and if it's big enough to put up in a video, then we can have another round of such videos. That's it for now. If you have any other questions or you want to cover any specific topics, let me know in the comment section below. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like the video and hit that subscribe button if you are new here. You can check this playlist for other DevOps related videos. Thanks for staying till the end. See you in the next one. Till then, adios.